influential newspaper, Leadership. Let's go there and see what Leadership has on its menu this Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, 4 March 2025. And of course, the headline story today on Leadership says high cost of medical care, more Nigerians facing health concerns over self-medication. Leading story on Tuesday's edition of Leadership newspaper. High cost of medical care, more Nigerians facing health concerns over self-medication. Of course, we have illustration beneath the leading story. We have 92.3% of self-medication prevalence in Nigeria, ranges from 52.1% to 92.3%. That is self-medication prevalence. And the hazards: drug resistance or failure, addiction, poisoning, kidney damage, worsening of underlying health conditions. We have 60%. Self-medication accounts for 60% of drug consumption in Nigeria. Illustration beneath today's leading story on Leadership, which is health related. High cost of medical care, more Nigerians facing health concerns over self-medication. Underneath that, we have high cost of medical care, extended hospital wait times. We have causes of self-medication, limited access to healthcare facilities, which is largely due to ignorance. Illustrations again on the leading story. Still on Leadership newspaper cover stories. Ukraine war, Zelensky does not want peace, says Trump, US president. Ukraine war, Zelensky does not want peace. Federal government approves 11 new private varsities. 8 cases of Lassa fever, 9 deaths in 7 days. Hamas rejects U.S. proposal for ceasefire extension. We move towards the masthead of Leadership, where we have Lagos lawmakers whip as Miranda steps down for Obasa. Of course, Nigerians watched live telecast of the proceedings yesterday as Miranda stepped down for Obasa, who was again nominated and took fresh oath of office as Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly. And on the business bus, we have Disco's record 60 billion naira electricity bill shortfall in December. Disco's record 60 billion naira electricity bill shortfall in December. This is the story on the business bus of Leadership this Tuesday. And at top, the masthead of Leadership, Ramadan, Tinubu calls for compassion, national healing. And still on the Natasha imbroglio, we have Natasha must defer to Senate rules, coming from the spokesman of the Senate. From the cover, we move to the page 3 of Leadership, where we have our permanent fixture, that is our stand. Today's stand is on E.K. Clark takes a deserved bow. It's an editorial on the passing of Chief Edwin Kiagbodo Clark, popularly known as E.K. Clark, on February 17, 2025, at the age of 97. Quite a momentous one. From our stand, we move over to the back page, where we have Tuesday column with Abdurrauf Aliyu, and today's column is writing on inflation's new math. Inflation's new math, in quote: with a stroke of methodological adjustment, inflation has seemingly plummeted from a harrowing 34.8% to a more palatable 24.5%. Quote on Tuesday's column, Inflation's New Math, by Abdurrauf Aliyu. And we bet at Ghana must go. Minister of Power assures of stable supply at Ramadan news. And guess what the answer is? May Allah forgive him. Well, quite funny, you might say. You'll find out more as you log on to the website of Leadership newspaper for continuation of these headline stories, the editorial as stand, and the inside pages on today's menu on Leadership. www.leadership.ng. From Leadership, we move over to the next paper we have on our menu, and that is The Punch. The Punch says Lagos Assembly, how Akonde-led panel forced Miranda out, reinstated Obasa. Uncertainty surrounds Assembly leadership as APC GAC members allay fears. We have the pictures of the newly sworn-in Mudashiru Obasa taking fresh oath of office at the Lagos State House of Assembly yesterday. NNPCL stations have reduced petrol price to 860 naira per litre, marketers. NNPCL stations have reduced petrol price to 860 naira per litre, marketers. Boko Haram adopts professor orders in fresh Bono attack. These are leading stories today on the Punch newspaper. Kebbi governor reserves 5 SA slots for people with disabilities. That's a good one from the Kebbi state governor. Reserves 5 SA slots for people with disabilities. We move towards the masthead of the Punch, where we have FEC approves 734 billion naira for Oyo Ogbomosho Road orders. FEC approves 734 billion naira for Oyo Ogbomosho Road orders is a story that runs on page 21 on the Punch. And above the masthead of the Punch, Rivers budget, Fubara assembly set for fresh showdown. Governor alerts supporters. Ramadan, Kebbi, Bauchi, Kano, Rebuff, Khan say schools remain closed. Federal government and NPCL work out 7.7 trillion naira fuel subsidy debt payment. It's a story that runs on page 23 of the Punch newspaper this Tuesday, March 4, 2025. For continuation of these headline stories on the Punch, don't forget to log on to the website of the Punch, even as we move to the next story on our menu, and that is Blueprint. Blueprint says tension heightens in Rivers, Khan returns to Lagos Assembly. Fubara gets 48-hour ultimatum to present 2025 budget. Wants people to take their destiny in their hands. I'm not scared of impeachment, Governor boasts. Miranda steps down, Obasa returns as Speaker. Naira stability, dovish inflation boosts consumers' demand. Another leading story on Blueprint cover page this Tuesday. Boko Haram adopts Biu Army Varsity professor orders. Kills 11 in midnight attack on Niger gold mining site. UTME 2025 JAMB registers 1.6 million candidates as exercise closes in 6 days. After patients complaints, Governor Idris working hours for civil servants. That takes us to the stories just beneath the masthead of Blueprint newspaper. News how NDLEA arrested wanted international drug baron in Lagos, coming from the CEO MD of NDLEA, Marwa. CBN to withdraw 650 billion naira from circulation as TBs falls 3.5%. And in sports, under 20 AFCON, Flying Eagles embark on break to resume campaign March 10. And above the masthead of Blueprint newspaper, reps OK 215 naira 2025 budget for Southeast Development Commission. With that, we'll also bring to a close the review of front headline stories on Blueprint this Tuesday. Don't forget to log on to the website of Blueprint for continuation of these headline stories as we head up to another paper on our lineup, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian says Ramadan, opera as Bauchi, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi shot out 11.5 million school children. Ramadan, opera as Bauchi, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi shot out 11.5 million school children. Because we also have the picture of Obasa, Lagos State House of Assembly, sitting on the speakership seat while Miranda is out. An illustration beneath the trending story on most of today's papers we have on our lineup. Party power prevails as Miranda resigns. Obasa returns in Lagos Assembly shakeup. Underneath that, Natasha, CSO's planned protest seek Akpabio's resignation as Monarch backs Senate President. U.S. tariffs on Canada, Mexico to go ahead Tuesday. Labour Party rules out merger ahead of 2027, rejects NLC interference. Jandor dumps PDP, accuses Bode George party chairman of frustrating ambition. Jandor was the PDP Buba candidate, and now he has thrown in the towel as he dumps PDP, while accusing Bode George, the party chairman, of frustrating his Buba ambition. Household consumption dips despite rising nominal income. Federal government approves 11 new private varsities. And just beneath the masthead of the Guardian newspaper, Nigerians enjoy subsidized fuel as NNPC Dangote engage in price war. Edo Election Tribunal reserves judgment on PDP's petition. It is with that we bring to a close review of front headline stories on The Guardian this Tuesday. Don't forget to log on to the website of The Guardian for continuation of these headline stories and, of course, inside stories. Let's move to the next paper we have on our menu, and which incidentally is the last paper we have on our menu this Tuesday for review, and that is Vanguard. Vanguard says Rivers crisis, I'm not scared of anything. Governor Fubara says the worst that can happen is leaving office, assures of government's victory in ongoing crisis. Charges Rivers people to take their destinies in their hands. As Amewule-led assembly gives him 48 hours to present budget. Local government area chairman hands over to HLGA. Kickers to that leading story on Governor Fubara, Rivers crisis, I'm not scared of anything. Beneath the pictures, we have Ramadan. Catholic bishops ask federal government to halt school closures. It's time to rescue PDP from imminent collapse, concerns stakeholders. Nigeria loses trillions to illegal miners, federal government. And in sports, 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Beating Rwanda away always difficult for Super Eagles, coming from Udeze. With that, we move towards the masthead, where we have above the masthead stories. NNPC Dangote's price reduction excites petrol retailers. FEC OK 733 billion naira for Odukbani Itu Road orders. Says Tinubu not favoring South. Akpoti Udwagan, no formal petition against Akpabio, Senate. Federal government insures airports assets for 1.097 billion naira, coming from the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo. With all that, we also bring to a close the review of front headline stories on Vanguard newspaper this Tuesday, March 4, 2025. For continuation of these headline stories, don't forget to join me, log into the website of Vanguard newspaper. It's on this note we conclude the first half of this program, Inside Nigeria, this Tuesday. Don't go away, we have our guest coming in shortly for the second half of the program. Stay tuned. Welcome back. In case you're just joining in, the program is Inside Nigeria, your preferred show on leadership television. My name is Winifred Weber, your host on the program, and of course I have my guest in the studio is a public affairs analyst, Benedict Agunloye. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Yeah. It's been a while. We're going to have you. A lot has been happening, like the Lagos crisis, which thankfully calm has returned yesterday. We watched live where the Miranda actually stepped down, and she was nominated for deputy speakership position and elected. And we also had what played out too, Obasa, who was also nominated and elected and took oath of office again as the speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly. What really played out there?
Well, I would think that the Lagos case is purely a case of party supremacy at work. For the members of the House, I think they were done with Obasa.
Yes.
And they are okay with
exactly, because they made it known even when he resumed.
But because they have been elected on the platform of the party,
on the same party,
and the leadership of the party seems to have a line or a project. Of course, basically, Lagos has got 3 districts. The West had never produced the governor. They have the speaker, and then you're taking it from the West and you are moving it to the center. It's more of like you are offsetting the balance. The center had produced the governor, we say, by almost back to back. Fashola was from Central. I think Tinubu became governor maybe on the platform of the center as well. And then you have only Ambode coming from the east. Now you have another person from the center in the saddle. So if the governor is center and the deputy is east, it would only be appropriate that we have leave the speakership in the west. But what also has played out, which cannot be taken away, is that validly, so whether we like it or not, there is an admittance because he's been shouting, if he had never been removed, why did he allow to stand a fresh election? So he's been out of the saddle for 49 days, and Miranda has been there, and the House members have shown clearly that, look, we are not satisfied with Obasa, and that's why in his returning, he promised to have a change, and let's see how that played out.
All right, thank you so much. Now, are you seeing a situation whereby there's an uneasy calm in this State House of Assembly? Because as Obasa was really now, thanks to those who played a role in his emergency game, re-emergence as Speaker of the House, some names were notably absent.
Well,
of course, I don't want to call those
it's
names.
not a case of uneasy calm, if you ask me. The position of the members of the House are very clear.
Yes.
36 of us believe, or of them believe that, look, Obasa, you have not run this seat as we will want it to be. We are having you back. That's the statement.
Because
the party that sent us here want you to be there. That's why we are having you back. But that is also not to say that Obasa have also seen the picture. You see, there is this language in the West. They say, when you rewu, as in look at your back and see who are your supporters. So if he has 4 out of 40, then he knows that he needed to brace up, or obviously you can't fight 36, you can't throw them out. If you throw 36 out, that's 90%. You cannot govern the house with 10%. So automatically you have got to a point where you yourself have rendered the house ungovernable.
All right. Now, lastly, before we leave this speakership issue of Lagos State House of Assembly, there are also speculations arrived that he was actually given a soft landing and for him to later resign. Do you see that happening? Because one of the papers, like the Punch, reported that it is expected, like some of the governance advisory council and some of the APC members spoken to during the crisis panel to resolve the issue, they say that he will be given a soft landing, but at the end of the day asked to resign. Do you see that happening or playing out eventually?
In politics, nothing is impossible. Yes, if that has been planned out, of course, with the picture on ground, that look, I have 4 with me, 36 are against me, right? I'm sure that based on that, if he's a reasonable person also,
he will do that.
Popular demand will just be that he resign, so that someone else from Lagos West. I think 50% of the house is from Lagos West. So you can't say you are the only person competent or qualified out of 20 to be on that seat. So if the need arises, I think that he should.
And he's moving for, yesterday when he presided briefly after his time, he moved the house on sign the, is it pronounced? That means indefinitely. He closed the house indefinitely.
Yes.
So that one has also set on to wagon.
No, a definite closure, right? Or an indefinite adjournment means that today they can reconvene. That's for me better than declaring a definite recess. I would prefer that to actually declaring a definite recess.
Yes, but he declared indefinite.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's
If you say indefinite, let's go for 3 weeks, let's go for 5 weeks, or let's go for this.
Yes.
For me, that may not also be too appropriate, because the state needs to be governed. You need to look at the people. There can be issues coming from the governor. There can be issues coming from the environment that they need to respond to. So you should be able to reconvene as soon as necessary. But if you have possibly put up a definite recess, the chances are that some members treat it like a leave and travel. And so if you make for an emergency reconvening, you may not have the number of people required to take certain decisions.
All right, thank you so much. Now, still on the tussle in State House of Assembly, while Lagos State's owner calm has returned, but one cannot say the same for Rivers State. They obviously agreed that the Supreme Court judgment heading on troubled waters. Right now, the governor has been given 48 hours to resubmit it to the House. What are we going to be having?
Well, if the Supreme Court has stated clearly that it was wrong for the governor ab initio to have given his budget to a 3-man house, the budget is there with him. It has been passed by the wrong person. We are saying return this document to the right source. The Supreme Court has said members of the House elected, all elected members of the House, I think apart from the one who have resigned, the remaining number should be able to sit. It's as simple as that. So give it to them, let them look at it. Repeat the process, because you have been told the process had been wrongly done. You cannot challenge a decision of the Supreme Court. So if you cannot challenge it, then it behoves on you, therefore, to go ahead and obey it to the letter, at least until there is any other alternative course. But as it stands today, Rivers does not have a budget. And whatever the governor is doing would actually amount to political rascality or executive rascality, as the case may be. So it's not like, I don't think there is any trouble in Rivers. There are just people who do not want to be civil. There are just people who do not see reason why they should respect the law of the land, and yet they want to hold democratic positions. I think that's the realization there.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, still on the Supreme Court judgment on the Rivers State's local government financial autonomy, but many Nigerians critics are saying that there are two laws for different set of people, for those in the ruling party and those in the opposition, because Okpebholo, that is Edo State governor, almost did the same thing tantamount, and up to now nothing has been seen or heard from that angle.
No, we can't say Okpebholo did the same thing. What you have in Edo is simple. The members of there is the federal parliament, which is House of Rep and Senate. Yes, there is the State House of Assembly, and of course there is the local government legislators. So which means the councillors have the right to suspend or impeach the chairman. And so if they are the ones who have taken that decision, I think we should stop blaming the governor for that action. We should not blame the governor for that action, because the councillors who are elected with the chairman, of course, all stood and represent the people. So the decision is coming from them. It's a different scenario from the case in Rivers. Of course, the case in Rivers is actually that their tenure expired, but the governor knew their tenure was expiring. He did not organize a fresh election. The constitution says you cannot have a caretaker committee in place. So what he should have done last year is what he's just doing now, which is there is the people you call the head of local government administration. The Olgas should be in charge, should be the accounting officer in the local government when the elected officials are not in place, and not caretaker committees. And I think that's what the Supreme Court says, you cannot have caretaker committees. But if there is chairman who got suspended, of course somebody can either, because there are other people who are elected, you have vice chairman who are elected, you have supervisory councillors, Within them, they can decide, pending when the suspension is resolved, what will operate. And if the chairman is not satisfied, he should be able to challenge whatever decision has been taken at the level of his local government in court.
All right, thank you so much. That is that. Now let's talk health. Leadership's leading story today is on health issues. It says high cost of medical care, more Nigerians facing health concerns over self-medication. Of course, recently the FCCPC said it was going to wade into the matter to see why some diabetics medication, asthma, they are selling so high in the market. But this reasons is not perfect because when the report broke, I was like, but some of these big pharma, they are exiting the country, or the FCPC is not aware. So what are we having here? And the federal government did say they were going to subsidize, or how to see.
It's not just a case of who is exiting and who is staying. We don't produce drug in every corner of the nation. The pharmaceuticals are in some hubs. Necessarily they produce and they have to transport. In the environment where they produce, they are either consuming diesel or they are paying band A to NEPA. So that cost has risen. There are foreign elements of their product, which of course the exchange rate of dollar is not there. So if a drug cost 190 naira in 2015, you expect that same drug today on exchange rate alone at that level to cost 1,500 naira. So you see that the gap, it's wide. Or it's 400 naira 3 years ago. By now it is 1,005 or sometimes 1,006, depending on at what point those element of it coming from outside are coming. Now we have ineffective. Now we always talk about the fact that there is wastage in our system. Wastage in that you're going to see organizations and bureaus and agencies across board not doing what needed to be done. Sometimes you say this is subsidized, or sometimes you say this is not to be sold. But you are going to realize that that item that you say is not to be sold, some of those who should be responsible for enforcing it are the ones responsible for giving it to people who will eventually sell it. So our health insurance system had not been put in the right perspective. It has not been given the right drive. And for me, the number of people who are in the health insurance list are just too few compared to the totality of the nation. So if there is no safety net, then people are given to self-help, right? And when you are in self-help, then you can be exploited. You can be exploited. Now, they are even talking about the fact that, okay, the prices have gone up. The reality is that the fake, almost all these drugs, all manners of metformin, go to the street and you see that the prices are high and there is so much fake. Counterfeiting is also on the high side. But where we have done things right and well structured, and people have to maybe resort to health insurance, there would have been proper monitoring, there would have been process to ensure that there is policy deployment, there is standards, and these things are properly evaluated. Last year or how long ago that the government spoke about free CS for women. How well has that been domesticated to our primary health care? So how many people have been able to benefit from this? Because we know, yes, maybe FCT have about 146 primary health care, they say. Journalists can take a survey and check how many of the 146 healthcare have been able to refer a patient for CS over the period that the statement has been made. So you've made the statement, define the process, making sure that the people involved are carried along. And if there are going to be the need for technology, we're talking in terms of phone, we're talking in terms of software, with which you can even stay in the presidency or in the Ministry of Health and monitor how many referrals of pregnant women do you have from primary health care to secondary, or from primary to tertiary, and what are the links? How is the link working? Are these people actually interacting? Is the handshake there? Those, for me, are the efficiency that we need to put in place. Because we make the statement, but the process should be defined, the process should be followed, and the wastages should be cut. If we are able to cut wastages, particularly in the health sector, we would have saved ourselves a lot of things. Because it's not just the cost of drug and treatment. When these people go for drugs and treatment, when the treatment is not proper, if their time on the job becomes less, and some either underperform or they are not even performing at all, which is bringing down productivity.
What is actually the way out of this logjam? Because a lot has been said. Women are dying, especially maternal women. They are still dying during childbirth, and even with maternal mortality. Apart from maternal mortality, even child mortality is also mortality is still also on the increase.
Well, like we said, we need to define the process by which you can put more people on health insurance scheme. In which case, for every treatment, you don't have to start going to look for money.
Pregnant women like to actually go to hospitals to go and deliver?
Now, that will be the fault of the individuals if they don't take the measure. Like I said, FCT has not less than 143 primary health care, majority of which are supposed to be functional. So if the people patronize them, and if the government ensures that they are functional, whoever now refuses to go there will be accountable for his own troubles, but not making the process well defined, right? And not giving the people the access. Because if you say they don't go, sometimes it's not going because he doesn't have the money. But if there is an health insurance process in place that protects the poor, that makes people who can at least afford some payment to make some payments, and then they are not limited by what they are able to pay, then you will realize that what you get in the end is that people can confidently, right, go to those places. But when they are afraid, I've been involved, I think, with what's the name of that group now, Pediatric 24. I remember that when they needed to visit one or two healthcare centers, and we went with them to some primary hospitals. Of course, one of the fear of the women is paying for the drugs. So one of the things you have to put in advert in inviting them for that outreach, I think it was about 6 or 7 doctors, some from tertiary hospital, who took leave or took time out to come for that event. Of course, you have to assure them that whatever drugs they require, they were going to be given for free. So we had to arrange to pay, to let the primary health care know whatever drug is available with you, we will issue and we will pay. And I think the doctors also came with another pharmacist who came with some drugs. So the fact that people are afraid that if they ask me to buy, I no get money, so why I won't go there? But if the assurance is there that some form of insurance has been in place, and then you give something, and then there will be difference. You see, as a child, I would always say that in primary one, I fell from the window in school. I got my skull broken. My teacher gave me a tissue and went looking for water before he would return. I knew the dispensary was like 2 minutes away. So I walked there and I saw the matron. And he said, "Why would your teacher?" I said, "My teacher didn't send me away. She went looking for water, so she will still be looking for me. But I think you have water and you are closer." They treated me. Nobody asked me for card. Nobody asked me for money. Nobody asked me for my parents. And my grandma was never in that dispensary with me. But every morning, I go there for 5 days and I get treated before 7:30. I never got to school late.
Good old days.
So if that was happening in the primary health cares in our villages in those days when there were no light and anything, health care.
All right, thank you so much. Now from health, we want to talk education. Of course, there's a face-off between CAN and the Catholic schools, because Vanguard also has Catholic bishops. The issue of Ramadan, because some states have closed schools during this Ramadan period. Talking about Bauchi, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, and of course, CAN says no. Why must you close schools during this? Because it's Ramadan. Same with the Catholic bishops, who have also called on the federal government to halt school closures. What's your views on that?
Well, I think that if you ask me, I don't think it's the proper thing to be done, because in nations that were not even secular, such decisions are not being taken. And if there are states who think they want to take some measure, they should have called together the other mission schools. They should have called together the private school proprietors and sit down and negotiate and look at it together. Okay, what is the impact of Ramadan on the Muslim student? What do we do to ensure that perhaps they are able to participate in the fasting without too much of negative consequences?
Or even non-Muslims, because there are non-Muslims.
Yeah, no, they have Muslim, they have non-Muslim. The state, now, let's be very realistic. There are states, right, in Nigeria who assume, even close to the south as Kwara, who assume that it is unfashionable for you to say you are not a Muslim. It's their right to say it, you can't take it away from them. But you also have your right as a Christian or as any other thing you believe in to have your stand. You know, that's why when we talk about census, some of us believe that our census must capture tribe, no matter how minority you are, and must capture religion. So that when you are putting the data, the state actually know that these people you think are minority are not so much of a minority. So you need to put them into consideration when you are taking decisions. But Ramadan has started. But there are a lot of us who come into the town to work who are non-Muslim. So I think there should have been an engagement process to ensure that these students, whether Muslim or not, are properly planned for before any decision is taken.
All right, thank you so much. Well, viewers, you are still on to Inside Nigeria. We're about rounding up now. But before we go, we want to leave without you touching base on what is happening, playing out in the upper National Legislative Chamber of the National Assembly, talking about the Senate, Natasha, allegations of sexual harassment against Senate President Akpabio. What are your views?
Well, I think that a lot of us have always complained about what you call press trial, media trial. It needs not to be subjected to media trial. Let her go to the Senate Committee on Ethics and Privileges and present her case. And if she's dissatisfied with that, then she can now explore other means. But clearly, behaving wrongly in public under whatever under whatever you are basing it wouldn't work. You have misbehaved in public, let's deal with that. If there are now underlying reasons why you think you did, let's come back to the underlying reason later. But the first thing is that he was unruly she was unruly in her conduct in the last Senate sitting where she appeared. And for me, I think that matter should be dealt with, and then the issue of underlying item should be taken up. They should not be muddled together. A misbehavior is a misbehavior. No matter who it is, investigate appropriately and punish. If you misbehave, you should be punished. It doesn't matter what the underlying factor was. Otherwise, armed robbers would have said, I suffered, that's why I carried gun. And then I should not be punished for armed robbery. I think that is not fair.
All right. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you on the program, Benedict Agnoye. I also look forward to having you same time next week on the program. So viewers, this is where we draw the curtain on today's Inside Nigeria, your breakfast show on leadership television, where we discuss front headline stories and some trending issues in the country and beyond. My name is Winifred Weber. Thanks for joining us.